Hello and welcome to the first in our series entitled Overview of the Production Module in SAP Business One. In this session, we will cover the basics, namely creating a bill of materials and executing a simple production run. Now that I've logged into SAP Business One, I will proceed to create a bill of materials. I'll do that by opening my menu, moving to Production, Bill of Materials. Think of bill of materials as a cookbook recipe for what you are about to make, the item that you are about to produce. We'll switch to add mode and we'll enter our finished good. In this case, we will say that we will be creating a recipe for finished good 100, and this recipe, to continue my metaphor, will yield 2 units. My bill of material type for use in the production module must be production. The other types of assembly, sales, and template are used elsewhere in Business One. I will now add the components to the bill of material, and I will start by saying that the first component is component 100, and we'll need 4 of those. And then we'll say component 200, we'll need 2 of those. And then lastly, we'll say that we'll need 1 quart of blue paint. All of these inventory items will be pulled from warehouse 01. They don't need to be. They can be pulled from any warehouse. They don't need to be all pulled from the same warehouse. So one could be pulled from warehouse 1 and another could be pulled from warehouse 2, for example. And they don't need to necessarily be sourced from the same warehouse that the finished good will be placed into. Just for convenience, I will let that be the case in our example. Also, a bill of materials can include things other than inventory items. Very often, we will see that labor, for example, is used in our bill of material so that the cost of labor would be included in the cost of the finished item. We are going to go ahead and add 2 types of labor. We're going to add a senior technician and a paint specialist. We'll say that the paint specialist requires 45 minutes to create 2 of these items. So we'll enter 0.75, and we'll say that our senior specialist requires, or senior technician requires 2 hours. Some other fields that I'll talk about. The planned average production size is not needed for the production module. It would be used in MRP for the MRP forecast. So for example, if the MRP forecast indicated that FG100 needed to be manufactured, it would recommend that the manufacture quantity would be in the amount of the planned average production size. In this case, we're just going to go ahead and match the quantity that this bill of material would yield at 2. We could also set the product price for the price list indicated here of base price. We will not do that. Alternatively, had the components be set with prices in the base price list, we could set the price of the finished good to be the sum of the component prices by clicking on this arrow. 2 more fields that you see are the distribution rule. That would be used in the event that we were using cost accounting, and project in the event that we were using project accounting, neither of which we're using in our simple example. So I will go ahead now and add the bill of materials. Now that we have our bill of materials, I will execute a simple production order run. I'll do that by opening up the production order screen and entering in the item code for what we just created the bill of material for. And you'll notice that the components come in as we specified in the bill. The planned quantity is defaulted to 1, so therefore it is calculating the necessary quantity for 1 of the finished good items, or half of the bill of material, because you will recall the bill of material was set for a yield of 2 units. We're going to change the planned quantity and make this production run for 4 units. That, in effect, changes it so that the planned quantity is now twice what is called for in the bill of materials. Just as a cross-reference, we'll drill back into the bill of materials. And you can see 4, 2, 1, 0.75, and 2. became 8, 4, 2, 1.5, and 4. You can set a different order date, a different start date, a different due date as necessary. Those are used in accordance with planning on the production floor. It would also have an effect on your delivery schedule and available to promise if you were using those functions. We're going to go ahead and leave it at the current date. And I'm going to go ahead and add my production order. You'll notice that I could have chosen to change any of the quantities. I could have added more component items. I could actually have also deleted rows if necessary from the production order. The bill of material is a recipe, but as any good chef knows, the recipe is a guideline and can be changed if necessary. I will then go ahead and add it. The status is planned. It's my only choice. But once I add the production order and am ready to actually commence production, I can come back to the production order and change the status to released and update. When word comes back from the production floor that production order number 163 has been completed, I change to find mode. I call up 163. Again, if in the actual production any of the component quantities changed, I could reflect that here. These fields are all active and editable. I will just go ahead, right click and report completion. I will say that this actually took until the next day to complete. So I will change the date. I will advance it and say 163 for our finished good is going to be marked as complete for a quantity of 4. And I'm going to go ahead and add. The receipt is now completed. To indicate what happened to all of the inventory, I will move to the inventory audit report. For the date just for convenience, for the date that I reported completion, I will expand to make it easy to see. And you'll see that I have 4 items. Remember that the labor items are non-inventory, so they are not reflected on the inventory audit report. I have the finished good coming in at 4 units, and I had my 3 backflush components automatically decremented accordingly. You will notice that the cost of the finished good that was brought into inventory for the 4 units was a total of $1,488 or $372 a unit. That does not equal the inventory components that were decremented for the components of $1,228, $1,358. The difference, of course, is the labor. To illustrate that, we see we had these components in these amounts, their costs, individual costs, 125, 57, and 65. And then we had $25 for our senior specialist, $20 for our paint specialist, for a total of $1,488 in total, or 372. That concludes this session. We hope that you found it worthwhile, and we hope that you visit and view the other sessions in this series on overview of the production module in SAP Business One.